Me, Namita Purohit. I am a leadership and life coach, and I base my practice on Eastern wisdom and Western psychology. In today's episode of the Heal Strong podcast, which is sponsored by the Heal Strong program, where we help people make a complete recovery from toxic narcissistic abuse. In today's episode, we're going to talk about how can parents who are parenting, who have their partner, their husband, their wife, their spouse, um, is a narcissist or they're in a co parenting situation with them, then how can those people protect their children from carrying trauma into the future? So, I think this is the fourth episode in the series that I'm doing on parenting with a narcissist. And you can find the link to the playlist in the description below. Um, and I've covered various topics about survival strategies you need, how can you help them, cope better, and how can you protect them and things like that on a day-to-day basis from the manipulation. But this one is specifically about how trauma carries in the life of a child raised by a narcissist, and what can you do that, right? So as I was preparing for this episode, I was reminded of a story of one of my clients, and I'm sure he'll be fine with me to share this with others, and I have talked to him about this also, taken his permission, where a high performing individual, high performing leader with a lot of potential in his growth in his tech company. But at the age of 48, he found himself, he found that peers who were not as good as him or not as smart as him were making to CTO, Chief Technology Officer, or they had their own startups. And he knew he had the same capacity and he knew he was better than them and he knew it was possible for him. But he wasn't able to reach that position. More than that, because he didn't have the support of his wife, and his wife is a classic narcissist. And a few years ago, his own son tried to take his own life because he just couldn't deal with the trauma that was coming from his mom. And as I've been working with this client, and I've been trying to go through the 5 stages that we help people with in making a full recovery from toxic narcissistic abuse. One of the things that came up is the last stage, which is zeal, right? So we go through reveal, peel, heal, deal, and zeal. And the last stage is zeal, where you're living a life of purpose, of passion, and commitment to God and commitment to your spirituality. So he got the spiritual part fixed by enhancing his reading and everything. But then we were trying to work on the zeal part, and it turned out that he lost out on his career growth, and he lost out on the son was carrying the trauma, and the only reason was that because he, being a classic empath, or most susceptible to narcissistic abuse, was doing all the adjustments he could to keep his wife happy and pleased. And he thought, oh, okay, if I do this, this will please her. Let me do this. And if I do this, this will please her, and let me do this. And if I do this, this will please her, and let me do this. And this is what went on and on and on and on. And he found himself doing all the household chores. He found himself doing all the cooking, the pickups or the drop offs of the kids. And he found himself very behind his career, and his son had tried to take his own life. Terrible moment for a father. And as we worked through his history, it turned out that this was, of course, he's very beautiful, very caring, very loving, but he internalized the way his mother handled her narcissistic father. So the way his mother, traditional Indian lady from many years ago, the way she handled and dealt with her narcissistic husband, or this client's narcissistic father, was to just give in to keep the peace, and to give in and give in and give in. And that's what he learned, and that's what he learned how to do with his father. And he ended up having a narcissistic wife, and that's what he ended up doing. That hopefully one day it will bring peace, one day it will bring her support, one day it will bring her love, but it didn't. So this is how trauma transfers from one generation to the other. So there's one narcissistic parent, his father. And just being around him, he internalizes a certain way of being and a certain way of living. And then, as he's doing that, he's getting married in another situation. And usually, when you're raised by a narcissist, you attract a narcissist. And that's so true for a lot of women as well. When they've got a narcissistic mother, they end up attracting a narcissistic partner. And it takes them many, many years to realize what they've gotten into. And I've done a video on that topic, and I'll try to get the link up here somewhere for you. Or you can search for it on my channel. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. The link is in the description right on top if you're watching on Facebook and LinkedIn. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel and turn on the notifications so that you know when my latest videos are on. And you can also share it with your friends and family who will benefit. So, going back to the story, raised by a narcissist, internalized certain coping mechanisms, continued those coping mechanisms in his marriage, and he couldn't see the narcissist for who she was. He trusted her with the whatever parenting she did for the children, and only to realize that the son was so traumatized by her. And that really lit the light bulb in him that there is something off here. That made him research, that made him do a lot of things, and that finally made him come to seek our help. And we're supporting him, and he's been a fantastic client, doing all the wonderful things that we are asking him to do. So when you are this high performing executive leader, leading an organization of 200 people, 300 people, and you're doing fantastic over there, but then you come back home to a narcissistic partner. And you just don't come back home to a narcissistic partner, you come back to all the difficulties your child has had with them in that scenario, in that situation. And you're wondering how you can help your child. You feel sad, you feel disturbed, you feel because they have been gaslighted, they have been used as narcissistic supply by the parent, they have been pit against you. I did another video about how the narcissist pulls the children away from you and turns them against you. You're experiencing that when you're coming back home. Your child has experienced some unkept promises. They were probably promised certain treats or certain things that the parent would do with them. But then once the narcissist got what they want from them, then they did not keep up with the promise, or because they had a change in mind, or they just, and they love it when they see somebody on tenterhooks and waiting for them to, do something for them and crave for them. That's like massive supply for a narcissist. And you also see your children picking up narcissistic traits, or you see that your child was given the silent treatment, or they were manipulated throughout the day, right? Here, like one of the things was, yeah, I'm going to pick you up after school. And then just a minute before the child is supposed to be picked up, she goes, and this is on family chat, ask your dad to pick you up. And then he has to write down, Dad, please pick me up. And then dad has to drive 30 minutes to go and pick him up at the last minute when the mother is just a minute ago. And then as dad is getting ready to go and pick him up, the mother is already there and ready to pick him up. Such crazy making behavior and such manipulation of the child to settle scores with the partner as well. Yes. So that's what you're experiencing when you're coming back home after a great day of work, a great day of accomplishments, and you don't know how to deal with that, and you worry for your child's mental health, you worry for your child's nurturing and growth, and you feel helpless about being unable to protect your child from all the experiences they are having with the narcissistic parent, your spouse, your partner. And it's very difficult for a parent to go through that. And you worry about this trauma carrying into the future, right? You raise adults, but then they have this wounded inner child, wounded by the narcissist, wounded by the trouble that they have to go through, and the coping mechanisms that they develop that make them um, easy targets for further narcissistic abuse, or that makes them sacrifice their career, makes them sacrifice their self-being, and so many things happen to them. Yes. Now, what is it that you can do about it? So there are three things that you can do about this. Is the first is to work on strengthening yourself, work on healing yourself from the abuse you have gone through in that marriage or in that relationship, and heal the vulnerabilities that made you susceptible to narcissistic abuse, right? Like in this client's case, since his mother had a certain unhealed coping mechanism, he learned that coping mechanism from her and he carried that into his marriage. And now at 48, he's realizing, like, wow, I need to learn new ways of being. Yes. But when you, as a parent, have healed yourself, are strongly self partnered, are strongly self loving, you have overcome your vulnerabilities, overcome your hooks, and have learned how to deal with the narcissist from that very healthy, healed, and whole space, is when your child is also going to learn how to do that. So you don't want your child to be bitter, resentful, angry, calling your partner names, because that's not healthy for the child. But you're teaching your child just by your own healing and your own journey and your own behavior on how to deal with the other parent. And that lesson is the biggest lesson. No matter what you say, no matter how much you try to protect your child, by setting boundaries with the narcissistic parent, by communicating with them. And I have shared tips on that in the previous videos in this series on parenting with a narcissist. This is the biggest uh, gift that you can give to your child, is to first work on yourself, as this client of mine is doing. And you can always sign up for one-on-one coaching with us, and you have the links on how to apply for that in the description below, and you also have links probably showing up somewhere over here. Yes. The next thing you want to do is to be a strong and stable presence for your child. Yes. So while you have worked on yourself, you also want to show up as a strong, stable, predictable, ethical, good, and unconditionally loving parent towards them, because they are experiencing something that's horrendous and you want to show up as a contrast. Now, what does that do to you? I had another client whose mother was a narcissist, and she grew up and then she ended up getting married to a narcissist because she had some of those vulnerabilities and those traits. Now, but she was quick to realize and quick to stand her own ground and quick to set boundaries and protect herself and thrive in her life, because she knew she was unconditionally lovable. She knew she was not just an object to be mistreated. She knew her emotions and her feelings mattered. And why is that? Because while she grew up with a narcissistic mother, her father gave her that experience of unconditional love and a strong, dependable presence for her, valued her feelings, valued her emotions when she was growing up. If she was just sitting quiet and she was looking disturbed, her father would come and ask her, "Is everything okay with you?" Right? And he knew that, and he gave her that experience. And usually kids learn how to take care of themselves and learn how to see themselves based on how their parents see them and how their parents take care of them. Yes. And because she had that solid experience and a very solid and stable parent who, in spite of having a narcissistic wife, knew how to hold his ground very respectfully, knew how to not get affected, knew how to have his and keep the peace. She knew that she was valuable, and plus she knew how to deal with that narcissist. Yes. So that is how you can help. That is another thing that helps children. And the third thing is, you want to teach your children self love. You want to teach your children to learn how to honor their own needs and feelings, their own aspirations, to honor their whole self, their body, their mind, their soul, to have compassion for themselves when they go through some difficult experiences with a narcissist. And you want to be that coach for them, you want to be that parent for them, where you train them with that, on how to hold themselves together when they are going through some extremely difficult emotions with a narcissist, how to self care, how to self soothe, how to take care of themselves. Now, when you teach that self love and you teach your children that they have immense value, uh, they do not fall into the trap of another narcissist ever, and never attract another partner, a narcissistic partner in their lives. And the next video that I'm going to talk about, I'll be talking about how do you raise kids so that they never attract a narcissist in their life. And we're going to talk about that in the next video in a bit, next week. But all of this is possible when you first work on your own healing and your own recovery from toxic narcissistic abuse. And I have created a very special method, the Heal Strong method, that takes away the guesswork, that takes away the confusion. And it is your proven 5 step clear journey to a full recovery from toxic narcissistic abuse. As you can see here, the person is broken, but then first they come to the reveal stage where they really truly understand the narcissistic traits in their relationship and how it's impacting them. The peel stage is where they recognize the damage that has been caused to them and all inner strengths that they need to cultivate. And the heal stage is when you go through a 5 step process of healing itself, right? And third, step 3, you have 5 step processes, which is a holistic method of working on the body, the energy, the mind, the intellect, and your spirituality. And then you have the deal stage, which is you learn how to deal with a narcissist. I know a lot of people want to learn how to come and deal with a narcissist, and we give you all those resources. But truly, your dealing becomes extremely effective and extremely strong when you are have done 1, 2, and 3 really well. And then once you've learned how to deal with a narcissist and you've gotten to 1, 2, and 3, you're able to live a life of zeal, as we're helping our client right now. And true healing requires more than just mindset shifts, and it needs transformation at every level. And you get access to courses, you get access to resources from Ayurveda to heal your body, clear your relationship karma with the narcissist. You do a lot of work, a lot of trauma release work, a lot of guided work, unfulfilled relationship, grieving the losses, finding support in divinity. There are very customized guided meditations in addition to the chakra work. And then there are and it's all based on Eastern wisdom and Western psychology. So you're learning principles and concepts to help you from the Yoga Sutras and the Bhagavad Gita, and one-on-one coaching using CBT and a supportive community. And it's a one-stop shop. And we have a beautiful team that is me, supported by 2 of our Heal Strong coaches, Poonam ji and Sangeeta ji, who, and together we've helped hundreds of leaders and high performers like yourself make a full recovery from toxic narcissistic abuse. And for those of you who are interested, I will welcome you to apply now for this one-on-one coaching with us. And I'd also encourage you to deeply reflect on the 3 points that I have shared today on making a full recovery from toxic narcissistic abuse, which is for yourself, but for you to be able to show up as healed and whole for your child and then model that example so that the trauma doesn't transfer from one generation to the other, as we saw in the first story. The second is to be there as an unconditionally loving, strong, stable presence for your child and give them that experience every single day. And thirdly, is to teach self love to your children. We're not talking about hedonistic self love that, hey, you're important and you're so important, and you're this. You're not trying to make another narcissist here, but to help them truly honor and acknowledge themselves and see themselves the way God sees them, as an unconditionally lovable part and parcel of the Lord, right? So help them with self love in a spiritual way, in a God conscious way. And that's what helps them. And then to do these 3 steps, you need support too. And for that, I invite you to apply for one-on-one coaching with us. And I look forward to serving you. As we end this video, you are going to see a playlist of the videos of toxic narcissistic abuse, previous video you can watch. And if you want to work with me, then it'll be a third video that's going to show up solo aside. And you can watch that and understand how we help people. All right. So thank you so much for being here with us. And I look forward to serving you inside. Bye-bye.